Right there guys, Matt from House of Geeks. Today, as the title shows, we're going to do a little review of the new Age of Sigmar General's Handbook. But before we start, we are going to do a little bit of a rant. Now I do apologise, I'm only going to rant because I'm obviously very passionate about the hobby, obviously about geek stuff in general. So first, it's a little disclaimer. This is literally my own opinion. It's my own views. If you disagree with it, by all means comment, and just let me know what your views and your opinions on it. So this is literally just what I think and how I feel things have gone with fantasy, basically for Games Workshop as a company. Right, Games Workshop as a company, obviously has been around for what must be about 40 years, I think now. Obviously they started off with Warhammer 40,000, they branched out to a fantasy style, so obviously they did Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Now I started off literally on Warhammer Fantasy 23 years ago. Yeah, 23 years ago. So I've got 23 years worth of history, of background, of fluff, of armies, things like that. Obviously this is just a battle deck of magic cards that you use in the 8th edition of Fantasy. So yeah, I'm very passionate about Warhammer Fantasy. I always have been. I've always I started off with Warhammer Fantasy 23 years ago. I've always been passionate about it, really. And then they just decided to change it to something called Age of Sigmar. Now, Warhammer Fantasy financially was struggling. I think Age of Sigmar now has been out for just over a year. As a company, from a business perspective, obviously, it needed to be changed. That's fair enough. I 100% agree with that. But it's just the only thing that gripes me is the way they did it. Now, like I say, they had 35 years of Warhammer Fantasy history, background, fluff, which was, characters, which was amazing. I mean, anyone that's been into Warhammer Fantasy for a number of years can, probably list off, a good deal of, Warhammer Fantasy characters. So you could have like Gotrek and Felix, Nagash, Tyrion, Teclis, Grimgor, Archon, and you can have all the Skaven stuff like Deathmaster Snitch, Thanquol, Bone Ripper, or the Dark Elves, so Malekith. There's so many characters in fantasy, and obviously they've got all the fantasy novels and things that came out. So you've got all the omnibuses, all the Empire novels, Gotrek and Felix novels, the Dark Elf novels. There's so many novels and things that came around, and then the coming up to the change to obviously Age of Sigmar, they had I think was it called the End Times? I think the End Times series, which was a trilogy, which was 3 books. It was obviously a death book, so Nagash came back, which was really cool. Then they had, I think it was a Skaven one. So that was all about Skaven, coming up from the Empire, and massive, all the Empire cities were under siege by Skaven that were burrowing from underneath. New models and things came out, which was awesome. And then they did the final one, which was the Archon book. So they had all the new, new models, new rules, things like that. Which was really good. I mean, 8th edition wasn't my favourite edition. For those of you that want to know, my favourite edition would probably be 6th. Yeah, 6th, maybe 7th edition. 6th edition was really good. I did enjoy 6th edition. 8th edition wasn't my favourite, but I did enjoy it, and I still played it. Then at the end of the End Time series, there's a bit of a spoiler here, so people that don't want to know what happened yet or that aren't reading it, just skip this bit. Basically, they just blew up the entire Warhammer world, which, in my eyes, was quite a bit of a big mistake in my my eyes, my own opinion. So they pretty much erased 35 years of history, of fluff. Well, like that really, which annoyed me more than the change of the rules. Now, obviously, as a business, it needs to change, so they have to have new editions every so many years. I think they try for every 4 or 5 years, I think, for new editions. So changing the edition, changing the rules, you know, that's fine. That's good. That's, you know, good business really. Because obviously, if you change your rules, your players have to go and buy the new rules book, which is fair enough. So obviously, you know, increasing your sales. But I don't understand why they had to destroy the fluff. The people say that the fluff was a bit stale. The fluff was a bit, you know, a bit stale, a bit old. But you know, that's what people like. People, you know, people like the fluff. A lot of people just play the games. That's fine. I mean, I really like background and fluff. You know, when I play 40k, you know, I love reading the novels. Like I play Dark Eldar. I've read the Dark Eldar Omnibus. I've had every single Dark Eldar codex that's been out. I've read them. Space Marines. I've read a lot of the Heresy novels now. All the Space Marine codexes, things like that. Now, if it was up to me, if I was obviously leader of the team, or what, I don't, leader of the design team or whatever. I can't quite remember the guy's name that changed it. I've tried to block his name out of my memory, just a bit sore from the subject. But if it was me, I would have kept the fluff, kept the characters, changed the rules, obviously, because you know, the rules need to be changed. People's argument were, you know, people were arguing the fact that, or how would elves of Lothlorien fight? You know, how would they fight the force of chaos from the wastes? The way how I'd get around that is people that know and read the fantasy novels, all the fantasy fluff. Used to be the gates of the old ones, and the gates of the old ones were basically there, so armies could travel from one point in the planet to another point of the planet for resources. Obviously, if you were on an island, not able to get so much whatever, you know, these gates were placed by the old ones, the creators of the old world, basically the gods, the original gods that actually created, you know, the planet, the world, or whatever you want to call it. That would be a better way of doing it than just destroying it. Another way of doing it would be to have, rather than just destroy the world, have it fracture. So you could have like the same kind of world, but have it like blown up, and then have like segments of worlds. So you could have like a wood elf forest with a, you know, like a, well, it's magic, isn't it? So you could have like a magic dome over it to keep it from you know, give it its own atmosphere and things like that. But keep the gates of the old world, the old ones. So you could have the wood elves of Lothlorien use the gates of the old ones to go to, say, the lands of the Empire, you know, the lands of the Empire, planes of existence, to raid for food. Or you could have the I don't know, say the Skaven, have their own little plane of existence with a bubble around it, use the gates of the old ones that have been reopened, and they could invade. They could invade the dwarves for warp stone, you know, things like that. Or you could have the orcs invade people because of the fact that it's orcs. The orcs want to fight stuff. Orcs will just raid whoever they want to raid. You know, they're not particularly bothered who they fight. Chaos could do the same. Obviously, resources is quite a big thing in the Warhammer world. They could have fought for resources. They could have fought for glory. Could have fought for honor. Even things like, you know, courts of Slaanesh should fight for pleasure. You know, fight for the sheer enjoyment of fighting. So that was how I would do it, and obviously I was very disgruntled when they just blew up the entire Warhammer world, got rid of all the characters I knew and loved, got rid of all the fluff, and then changed it to something that kind of really doesn't make sense. They've kind of done the whole separate planes, but yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I've tried to read one of the novels and it just really didn't make sense. So obviously with the new rules and things that came out, the new Age of Sigmar rules and things, the rules were literally 2 pages, and obviously when I've heard about these new rules for Age of Sigmar, I was very unhappy, to say the least. There was a lot of choice words that I had with a number of friends on the issue. Obviously they're just as passionate as me for the old, you know, Warhammer fantasy. Now, being the gamer that I am, I did give it the benefit of the doubt. I did play Age of Sigmar when it first came out. I gave it, you know, a fair good blast really. I gave it a good dozen or so games. So between 10 to 15 games I actually played Age of Sigmar when it first came out. My opinion on it then was I really didn't like it. It was so imbalanced. It was a case of you could put whatever you wanted on the board. There was no points limit, there was no structure. It was just a case of, I'm going to put my army down, you can put your army down. Because I've been playing it for 35 years, I've got more models than you, you've only been playing it for a year. You know, there was just no structure to it. You know, what was a point in playing when I could just take 12 cases of Warhammer models and put them down? It's a douche move, but if you're playing it by, you know, as rules written, you know, it's just stupid, you know. And then if I wanted to, you know, have a normal fun game, I would take, obviously, you know, I don't know, 3 or 4 units of ogres, or orcs or skaven or whatever. You know, I did have a lot of Warhammer Fantasy models, and then there's nothing to stop my opponent then from putting down everything in his collection. So there was just no balance to it. You know, it was just stupid. So I decided to stop playing it. I didn't play it for a long time. I did actually have I very nearly had an army for every fantasy army. So I think that was quite a lot at the time. There would be about, I think I had about 14, 15 armies at the time, ranging from Wood Elves, High Elves, Dark Elves, Chaos, Lizardmen, Skaven, Empire, Orcs, Ogres, Beastmen. I basically had pretty much an army for every army. And playing the new Age of Sigmar system, I actually sold pretty much my entire collection of fantasy. It took me a while to do so because I'd accumulated 35 years worth of models. I kept one army, which was my Warhammer Fantasy Ogres, for the simple fact that every single model was painted, so I don't have to worry about you know, changing them at all. The only obviously thing I would have to change is the fact that they've gone from square bases to round bases. So yeah, I really wasn't keen on the new Age of Sigmar, so I basically sold all my stuff. So that is my rant over. That is how I felt with fantasy for a good, I'd say a good year or so. You know, just over a year. Yeah, so that was my own view, on Warhammer Fantasy transition to the Age of Sigmar. I love fantasy. You know, it was literally how I started. You know, how I got into my hobby. You know, my first you know, geek love kind of thing, really. And the way they changed it really did just, yeah, it ruined it for me basically. I'd be swearing a lot probably about now, but it's a family show, so I'm trying to keep it above board. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into my review. Move them out of the way, the old cards. Of the new Warhammer Age of Sigmar General's Handbook. Now, I bought this on the simple fact that I'd seen a couple of games played with the new system, and it seemed to balance it out. Now, I have actually played about 7 or 8 games now with the new General's Handbook, so the point systems, things like that. I won't go into a review after. I'll obviously quickly flick through the book, and we'll see what goes through, and then I'll give you my main views and opinions on what happened, or how I felt it was. So we're given all the new fluff, layouts of the rules and things like that. So all the little rundowns here. So the introduction, opening, multiplayer games. It's basically a lot of just all rules, really. There's not really any fluff or background or you know, history or love for even, you know, the system itself, which is, yes, it really does disgruntle me, because I love playing games that have got history, that have got background, things I can read, things that I can, you know, get passionate about. So this is all like multiplayer rules, yeah, multiplayer scenarios. It seems to be all on the Games Workshop tiles. You know, they're called Realms of Battle. They're 2 foot squared battle tiles, which is all well and good, but obviously I don't own them. So I just have the, you know, standard 6x4 gaming board, like, you know, most people really, I suppose. So we've got narrative play, which is all about obviously playing with a story involved, but the story itself I don't particularly like. You know, it's all a bit too fancy for me. Scenarios, more scenarios for how, if you're going to play narratively. Theming an army. Now, the only way you could theme an army in fantasy is if you basically collect that army. You can't really theme of anything. Like in the old style, in fantasy, if you collected the Empire, there's different factions of Empire that you could do. So you could do it from Nuln, Averland, Workbad. You know, you could do it from so many different regions, and then you can go into the regions that not a lot of people knew about. You know, you can go into the Isles of Nippon, so you could have like a samurai themed. You could go into Cathay, which is like a Chinese themed, you know, kind of realm. You could go into you know, so many different forces, and the same for orcs. You have different tribes and things like that. You also have tribes and things like that in here, but they don't flesh them out. It's just they're there because, you know, they're there. I don't know. Maybe it's me just being against it, but you know, it's that's a bit more of a floats your own boat, I suppose. Creating battles of the past. So this is all. I don't really know how they could do battles of the past, considering that it's only been out a year. It goes on about the death and the gash. Obviously, I don't quite understand how they've done this or why they've done it, because Nagash is literally, the model has been out, what, 2 years? Came out for the End of Times trilogy, where it was the end of 8th edition, you know, so they were releasing all these really cool models, really cool fluff, you know, things were starting to pick up, you know, a lot of people was enthusiastic about it, and now they've just killed them off, so it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they did it. I think they've made I think they've made 1 or 2 silly decisions in my own, my own point of view. So campaign. I've had a quick flick through the campaign thing. It's quite good. It's all random. It's all by chance. It's all rolling dice, things like that, depending on if you win battles, if you lose battles. Each faction has got its own, you know, campaign table, which is quite nice. It's not got all the factions in here, unfortunately. I think it's literally just got what, Chaos, the Stormcasts, which are basically like Space Marines, but won't go into that too much. The Fire Slayers, which are like the Slayer Dwarfs, and the Iron Jaws. So it's literally only got those factions, and whether each new book, faction book that comes out, will have its own you know, campaign thing like this in it, I don't know. None have been released yet. I think the Ogre one is scheduled to be released quite soon-ish. Death, so that'd be undead, I imagine. Sylveth. Yeah, that'll be basically the Wood Elves. So you've got death here, obviously. So you've got your, you know, undead. Then you've got the scenarios for the campaigns, all set out nicely, laid out. What else? Matched play. So that's just like a standard me versus you kind of thing. Match play. Oh no, I think that's more of like a tournament type thing. Sorry, match play. So you have like leaderboards and things like that. Tournament play. Then you have like scenarios and things for it. Nicely laid out with all the pictures and things, different rounds, like a little mini battle report in there. Pitch battles is what I would prefer to use. So this is all like point system. So this is like me versus one of my parents or one of my friends. You set out your points, just like Warhammer 40k, just like Warhammer used to be. So you play a 2,000 point game. It's set out into different categories. So you can have leaders, which are obviously like your HQs and stuff. Battle line, which is just your standard troops. So it would be like troops and things. And then you've got artilleries, obviously an artillery piece, and bear moths. So you've got monstrous creatures, things like that. But the one thing I do like about these is you actually have to pay for formations. Now each faction has certain formations, which is called War Scroll Battalion. So you actually have to pay points for it, which I actually quite like the idea of, to be honest. Not that 40k formations are too broken. A lot of them are, but it'd be nice for, you know, to have to pay that. It's not much points, but you know, you actually have to pay for points. You know, I think it makes it a bit fairer compared to old codexes that don't have formations. So looking at your orcs, tyranids, Dark Eldar, Chaos, obviously they have so many formations with all the new supplements and things like that. But if you actually had to pay for them, you know, you'd make it a bit more fairer. So all these are your points at the back here. Points for different factions, there's quite a lot of points. Then you've got obviously pitch battle roster, so you can print, you can photocopy that and roster it off. I think you might be able to get a sheet off online, so just print it off from there, and it just goes into like warlord traits basically for 40k. So you can have different faction abilities and different warlord traits. Then your rules. These are literally your rules of the book. So you've got 1 page, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. That's literally the back page. So my review on this. I've played a couple of games. I've played 6, 7, 8 games, something like that. With the points, it makes it a lot fairer. It is actually more playable now. There's no. It's actually balanced it out quite well. If Games Workshop did this instead of just giving you Age of Sigmar, use whatever you want kind of thing, I think it'd have made the change the transaction a lot better and a lot simpler for people. I still don't like the background. I really do, you know, really am annoyed that they've, like I say, got rid of all the fluff, all the character, all the background and things like that. If they kept the background but introduced these rules, I think it'd have been a lot better system, and a lot better from a business perspective. Now, because I understand why they've done it from a business perspective, and they've done it basically because they want to put their own IP on everything. So that's why things aren't called orcs anymore, they're called urks, or that's why things aren't called goblins anymore, they're called snots or grots or something like that. They're not called Empire anymore because they can't put their IP on the word Empire. It's Stormcast Eternals, or they've basically changed it so they can say that's our name. If anyone uses that name, we will sue you. So I think that's a bit of a stupid move, personally. People will disagree. Like I say, these are literally my own views. I think they should have just kept it as it is. You know, everyone knows what an orc is. Everyone knows what a goblin is. Everyone knows what a human is. You know, so I don't like the way they've done that. But like I say, the transaction from 8th edition to this, if they kept the fluff and kept all the names, obviously things like that, would have been a lot better and a lot simpler and a lot smoother. I still believe Games Workshop lost out on a lot of money. I know for a fact they lost out on more money that they were planned on getting. I think their estimations were way out. I think they planned on making so many £1 million profit, and they actually only made one and a bit £1 million profit. And I know for a fact that the Age of Sigmar sales are very low before this book came out. So I don't actually know what they are at the minute. I know this because I've got people that work in the retail industry. Don't work for Games Workshop, just work for all the shops, independent stockists, things like that. My review on the book is it's very nice. It's very nicely laid out. I don't like the fact there's not enough fluff in it. I like my rule book. Obviously, it's quite a thick rule book. I think there's about 170 odd pages. So it's you know, it's a good size. I like my rule books to be a bit thicker because obviously I like to have a lot of fluff, a lot of background in it, so I could read it. You know, I can get passionate about, oh wow, they did this, they did that, or they could do that, or they did that in the past. Maybe there could be a comeback from it, or maybe they could have a second crusade, or or whatever. Yeah, so it's laid out nicely. It's nice to see that they've gone for a competitive play, a fair play, a campaign and a tournament pack. It's all in one book. I like that. That's it's a good idea. That I need to read into the campaign bit a bit more. I think they need to do the campaign bits for the rest of the armies, not just so many. Whether they'll be released in their own individual army books, it'd be nice if they are. I can't really give this a mark out of 10 or whatever because well, I wouldn't even know how to score it really. compared to previous editions, I would score it low because of the fluff and the background and things like that. So out of 5, I would probably give it only a 2. but if you're new getting into the hobby, it's very easy to pick up. It's very easy to learn how to play with only two pages of rules. It's quite straightforward to play. So if I was literally just walking past the shop, seeing someone playing this, walked in, I would probably be able to pick it up and learn it within a matter of, I'd say a day. Maybe, yeah, I'd probably say a day. I'd be able to pretty much figure it out, how to work it and master it. It is very simple to play. I don't know what it's actually aimed at age-wise. Usually it states it on the back, but it doesn't. But I think I could quite happily teach Warhammer Fantasy, well, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, sorry. I think I could quite happily teach this to probably to a 7-year-old. Might take a little bit, might take a few days to grasp it, but I'm quite confident saying I could teach it to someone with, you know, with a very, very low age. Warhammer Age of Sigmar as models, very nice. Games Workshop designers have done very, very well on a lot of the models. The Chaos models are beautiful. Some of the Stormcast Eternal models are very, very nice. Some of the new Orc models as well are very, very nice as well. So if I was just to rate this as a brand new gamer, as in if I just picked this up a few weeks ago, I would probably rate it quite. I'd probably rate it quite well. Probably a 3.5 out of 5, maybe a 4. But the thing is once I'd learned how to play the game, I would then be interested in the background of it, the stories, you know, things like that. That's me personally. A lot of people out there aren't bothered about the fluff of an army, or you know, how an army works or is put together, or how an army was built, or how an army started, you know, things like that in the past. Yeah, that's just me. That's just my own personal preference. That's what I prefer to do. I always like to look at a rule set, learn a rule set, look at an army, and then see which army looks good model wise, and then start reading about it. And if it's not right, if it's not what I like, I would probably not go for that army. So yeah, so that is literally my review on the Age of Sigmar General's Handbook. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I've not disgruntled anyone from playing it. The games I played, I said I have enjoyed it. You know, whether it was because my opponent I was playing, I've known him for a while. You know, I did enjoy the games. The games are quite quick. Like I say, very easy to pick up. With this new rule set, the General's Handbook, it literally took me an hour to figure out how to set out an army. The only thing I didn't like about the book is the layout of the pages at the back. So where are we? So you've got, let's quickly find this section. There. So you've got the Compendium of the Pitched Battles, which is like all the old stuff. Now, not all of it are in it. I don't know why. Like, because I collect ogres, you've got this section here. So this section here, which are just all the ogre characters. So you've got Brag the Gutsman, Standard Bearer, Golfag Banita, Greasy Scrawtooth, Scrag the Slaughterer. And these are your war squads that you pay for. That's it. That's all your section you've got there. And then if you want the other ogre stuff, you then have to flick forward to another section. Is this it? Nope. You see what I mean? I can't even find it, so it's not weighed out amazingly. Nope, that's not it. There, so you've got a section here, on this section, which is your Scrap Launcher, Iron Blaster, Ogres, Butcher, Tyrant, Gorgers, Grots, which are basically Nobblers, but they've had to call them Grots because they can't IP Nobblers, obviously. Iron Guts, Lead Belchers. So it's the same faction, but it's on a completely different section, so you've got all your points and stuff there. And then if you want your monsters and stuff, where are we here? They are somewhere here. I probably missed it. Yeah, see, there must have been a section previous, but again, it's in a different section. It'd been a lot easier if they just said, ogres, this is your ogre section, that's it, that's all your ogres. Skaven, this is a Skaven, the old school Skaven section, You know, it'd been a lot easier if they just kept it all one. So that was the fluff and the way that they laid out the bit at the back, I didn't particularly like. Do I think that you're going to see some Age of Sigmar battle reports on the channel eventually? Possibly. I have got an ogre army all painted. They're all in square bases, but I don't think I'll rebase them. I think I'll just keep them on square bases. It's a possibility. If people want to see Age of Sigmar battle reports on the channel, by all means, please comment, let me know, and I will, I'll get some sorted. I hope you've enjoyed the review and the little rant that I've had about the Age of Sigmar and Warhammer transaction. Like I say, it is literally my views. It is only my own opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. By all means, comment. Let me know what you think. And that is it. So a little thing at the end. I can only apologise. It's been a while since I put up a video. I think the last video I put up was a Space Marine Dark Eldar battle report. That is because I have literally been working like an absolute beast sorting out my Geek domain in my garage. I've managed to kick out all of my kids' stuff, all of my wife's stuff. That's all in a separate shed, which I've had to build, which I had to buy and build, and I've had to kit out this shed, my garage. Sorry. So I've got shelves, nice new desk. I've got lots of new toys and things like that to play with. I will do a little update video of when it is finally finished. If you want to see a video of how it used to look, it's on my channel. It's one of the first videos I think I put up. So yes, thanks again, guys, for all your support and all your comments, stuff that you've commented on previous videos. If you want to see me do anything in particular, if you want to see me do, I don't know, sit and talk, or want to see me do how I paint stuff or do scenery, by all means, just comment, let me know, and I'll try and get stuff sorted. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you guys next time. Toodaloo.